مرحبا يا شباب، شو الأخبار؟ معكم إيهاب من جيمز ماسترز. اليوم بطولة بوكيمون. طبعا نحن وصلنا حاليا للتوب 4. البطولة كانت صراحة جدا طويلة، تمام. واليوم يعني تغيير شكل فينا نقول، أو بطولة جديدة، جيم جديد، نوعية ألعاب جديدة غير عن سوبر سماش برو. البوكيمون رح تكون عبارة عن تيرن بيس جيم. هو الجزء هذا بوكيمون سورد اند شيلد، صح؟
اخر جزء.
أيوة.
اخر جزء.
فاللعبه عباره عن تيرن بيس جيم. رح تكون انه والله اضربني بعدين بيجي دوري بضربك. ف يعني اخوي الورعاني، شو الاخبار؟ ان شاء الله بخير.
الحمد لله.
شو الاخبار؟ امورك تمام؟ الحمد لله.
شكلك انت ما تحب العاب تيرن بيس ابدا.
والله نهائيا انا ابدا، اعوذ بالله.
شوف، لعبه بوكيمون معروفه من ايام جيم بوي نحن نلعبها. فطبعا هالبطوله اللي هني سووها اللي هي اخر جزء السورد اند شيلد. طبعا تيرن بيس تاكتيك، تعرف متى تضرب، وفي عناصر يعني مثل عندك الكهرباء والماء والنار دراجون وجوس وفياري، وايد اشياء، وكل عنصر يعني له نقطه ضعفه. يعني مثلا يعني انا اذا انت كنت تستخدم بوكيمون ماي، انا استخدم بوكيمون يعني كهرباء، انا افوز عليك بضربه واحده عادي. يعني
ضربه واحده
عادي.
ولا ترى هل ترى في هيلث بار بينزل بعدين
يراويك
اللهم بس لاني اقوى منك او انا غير اموتك
ترى
راسا؟
على حسب العنصر وعلى حسب الليفل. انا اما اضرب بالكهرباء اعطيك سوبر افكتك، عرفت؟
حلو.
فاهم؟ فكل عنصر له يعني نقطه ضعفه، وعلى حسب التطور وعلى حسب الستاتس كيف بزيد الديفنس حق بوكيمون وقوه الاتاك ومن هالاشياء.
حلو.
طبعا هنا البطوله اللي سووها اليوم يعني يعني اثنين 2 بوكيمون فيرسس 2 بوكيمون، يعني 4 نفس تاج باتل يعني تقريبا. ف يعني البطوله هاي يباها تكتيك
حلو.
يعني
حلو.
مش
حلو.
تعال وهذا تكتيك يباها تعال. ما شاء الله شفنا ناس يعني عندهم بوكيمونات اسطوريه، بوكيمونات متطوره انت تلعب.
طيب السؤال القوي جدا، هل اللعبه فيها تكتيك؟ والله اللهم لاني انا عندي العنصر الاقوى من عنصرك،
لا فيها تكتيك
فيها تكتيك.
فيها لان ليش انت مرات انت بتلعب بوكيمون يعني واحد جديد، انت اذا كنت جديد ما تعرف هالبوكيمون شو نوعه بالضبط، فانت عادي تتوهق لين ما تعرف هالبوكيمون شو.
واو لهالدرجه
ما تعرف هذا شو، هل هو يعني من نوع روك تايب، جراوند تايب، ولا من نوع البيرد تايب او فايتنج، فانت ما تعرف. يعني كل جنريشن يسوي ديزاينات بوكيمون انت يعني ما تعرفه، بعدين تعرفه عن طريق يوم تمسك البوكيمون او هو يوم يضرب، عرفت؟ او يوم تمسك البوكيمون تدخل البودكس يراويك شو نوع البوكيمون، شو التايب بوكيمون.
طيب السؤال المهم جدا،
نعم.
اذا انا اخترت نفس البوكيمون اللي انت عندك، هل يا ترى ضروري انه يكون انا عندي نفس الخواص او نفس الاشياء، نفس الحركات الخاصه او نفس الاشياء؟
شوف بعض البوكيمون
ولا في اشياء مختلفه بتكون؟
يعني بعض البوكيمون فيها يعني الفاير تيل، في بعض السبيشل السكيل مال الاتاك مالها غير تكون. يعني مثلا عندك شريزاد يقدر يعني يسوي حركته، والله نسيت والله اسمه، اللي فاير بلاست او شيء كذي، ولا سبسبكتوس. في بعض البوكيمونات الثانيه لو كان فاير تايب ما تسوي هالحركه على حسب يعني.
تمام. حلو.
كل البوكيمون له يعني سبيشل معين.
طيب شباب حاليا عم يجهزوا يعني التوب 4 حاليا تقريبا، بدنا ممكن 4-5 دقائق رح نطلع ان شاء الله، حتبدا المباراه الاولى، وانتم احكموا يا شباب هل ترى ان اللعبه مستاهله؟ يعني انا حسب ما سمعت، حسب ما شرحوا لي الشباب، ان اللعبه فيها تكتيك بشكل جدا خرافي.
طبعا ايهاب ما لعب ولا جزء، يقول
للاسف انا عن نفسي الصراحه ماني من جماعه نينتندو بشكل عام، مو لاني مثلا ما احبهم ولا شيء، بس لان ما اشوف ان عندهم الالعاب اللي تخليك والله لا تعال اشتري جهازنا العب.
زي قبل لعب نينتندو انت؟
انا لعبت ايام زمان
ما لعبت بوكيمون؟
لا
ولا جزء؟
لا لعبت ما بحكي لك ما لعبت، لا
اوكي.
بتذكر ان كان في لعبه اللي قتال بوكيمونات مع بعض.
اوكي تعرف شو
ايام جيم بوي يعني.
بس شوف لعبه قتال اذا ما خاب ظني نزلت بس في ايام الترمينيت اللي هي الوي، اذا ما خاب ظني عقب كان.
والله ماني متاكد، ماني متذكر، بس انا كنت يعني نادرا اللي العب بوكيمون.
لا شوف
ماني من الجماعه يعني اللي لعيبه في نينتندو ولا شيء، انا عن نفسي جيمر العب اي شيء، ما عندي تحيز لاي جهاز معين، بس اغلبيه الالعاب اللي العبها صدفه انها تكون على البلاي ستيشن بشكل عام، ان عندهم تنوع بشكل جدا كبير في الالعاب. يعني والله ما عندهم بس انه والله عندي ماريو انا وزلدا.
انت اقول لك بشكل عام ما تحب تيرن بيس مول ابدا؟
لا نهائيا، اعوذ بالله، حتى العاب السوني انا اسحب عليها. لا حتى لو كانت ان شاء الله حصريه نهائيا.
باقي بوكيمون تدخل بطوله ان شاء الله.
مستحيل، ما اعتقد، انا ما اعتقد. طيب شباب ما راح نطول عليكم، راح نطلع ان شاء الله بريك حاليا لبين ما يجهز الوضع، بنحتاج شوي 4-5 دقائق ان شاء الله وبنرجع لكم. راح نرجع لكم مع معلقين احسن. عن نفسي انا ما فيني اطلع معلق لاني ما بعرف شيء. فعندكم عن عبد الله اخونا ابو عيسى، واحد من مؤسسين جليتش، تمام، فان شاء الله راح
ومن منظمين البطوله.
راح يسلم ان شاء الله هو البث، تمام، و راح يشرح لكم اكثر عن البطوله
ان شاء الله. انت بتشوف البث ان شاء الله يعني تتحمس في
ان شاء الله
ان شاء الله.
ان شاء الله انا حكون خلف الكواليس
ان شاء الله.
يلا نشوفكم
تابعونا
بعد
شباب،
الفاصل.
انتظرونا.
Okay, welcome everyone to Glitch Cafe's tournament. Today we have myself, Omar Yaqoubi, and Abdullah Bulhosh, the owner and the host of the tournament. We hope you're tuning in live to watch this very interesting tournament. We have our top four waiting to start their games, but for now we're just having a brief talk about how the tournament's going so far and a few words of our host for the tournament.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مثل ما عرف أخوي عمر، وياكم عبد الله بالهوش، واحد من مؤسسين جلتش كافيه. واليوم عندنا بطولة بوكيمون. بنعطيكم بالمختصر عدد المشتركين كان 16 مشترك. لعبنا اللي هو سويس راوند، يعني 4 جولات. تأهل عندنا 4 لاعبين للتوب 4. وبنخلي الحين عمر يعطيكم بريف عن لاعب المستوى والبوكيمونات اللي يعتمد عليها وشو نتوقع. حاليا المباراة اللي بتكون على الستريمينج هي مباراة كريس ومباراة خالد الحريز. طبعا خالد الحريز من افضل اللعيبه في عندنا في الامارات، وعندنا كريس كذلك من اللعيبه اللي كنا نعرفهم، بس سافر خارج البلاد والحين رجع وما شاء الله وصل للتوب 4. فاخوي عمر، بس شو تتوقع هذه المباراه بين كريس وخالد؟ منو له الافضليه؟
والله بكل امانه انا متوقع ان كريس بيعطي، يعني بيكون شو اسمه بيكون منافس شرس بالنسبه لخالد، لان خالد متعود على الميتا تيم، متعود على الفرق اللي هم يفوزون بطولات، يكونون حق الناس التوب بلايرز وسوالف هذا. بس كريس كل مره يجيب مثل ما تقول مفاجات في الجيم، فاتوقع انه يمكن يفاجئ خالد مره مرتين. لو نجح في الجيم الثاني يكون فايز حق الماتش كامل، والا خالد عنده اسلوب في التاقلم في المواجهات. فمن اول جيم يعرف كيف ان شو اسمه كيف يتابع او كيف يرد فعل، بيكون رده فعله في الماتشز.
طبعا ذكر شاهد المشاهدين بان لعبه بوكيمون لعبه يعني اكثر اللي يلعبونها يتحدثون اللغه الانجليزيه بشكل رئيسي، فبيكون التعليق يعني 80% باللغه الانجليزيه، 20% فقط للتوضيح بعض الامور باللغه العربيه. ونتمنى ان شاء الله انكم تستمتعون. نتمنى الحين بس المخرج يراوينا الشيت نشوف. عندك اخوي عمر، استلم
تمام.
خالد versus Chris.
Okay, so now we have both Chris and Khalid taking the scene. They're about to take their Pokemons. So as we can see, Khalid has Kyogre, Serena, Rillaboom, Weavile, Tornadus, and Urshifu. Meanwhile, Chris has Tapu Lele, Stakataka, Blaziken, I forgot the name, Musikat, and his own Urshifu. But we don't know which kind of Urshifu both players have. It could be the Dark type, it could be the Water type. So this will be an interesting match, since one is relying on Grassy Surge, which uses the grassy terrain, and one is the Psychic terrain. So this might be a terrain war, more or less. And they both have really strong Pokemons in terms of special attack. Kyogre on Khaled's side, and we have Carylex on Chris's side.
مثل ما قال اخوي عمر، شوفون الفريقين. كريس طبعا نشوفه جاهز حق تريك روم، عنده استكلاكا، وعنده خالد الستايل القديم اللي هو كيوغر. وبدأت المباراة، اخوي عمر بيستلم التعليق على المباراة هذه كاملة، وان شاء الله تستمتعون.
And here we go. So first we have Chris and his choice of Urshifu and Whimsicott. And it turns out to be the Dark type Urshifu. Meanwhile, Khaled takes off Kyogre and Rillaboom. It's an interesting matchup. Both have grasses on each side, and then Kyogre versus Urshifu. Then there goes the Grassy Surge, which produces the grassy terrain. And the interesting thing about the grassy terrain is that if Rillaboom has Grassy Glide, it gives it a priority, which makes it move before everyone else. Meanwhile, Kyogre depends on the speed. It might be faster or slower than Urshifu, depending on how they're trained. Chris decides to be safe and uses Double Protect to check what Khaled has in mind. There goes the first attack on the Protect. Kyogre goes for Water Spout into the both protecting Pokemon. So now we'll see how Chris will react to this knowledge. Looks like Khaled will still stay with the same attack moves. How would Chris react to this? Let's have a look. I guess Chris is taking his time because Khalid already locked in his move. Okay, so Whimsicott goes for Tailwind, meaning Urshifu will go first. But due to Rillaboom's Grassy Glide, he gets the priority. Urshifu goes for the Wicked Blow into Rillaboom, leaving Kyogre to do a full damage of Water Spout. And there goes Urshifu. He already got damaged by Grassy Glide, but I mean, like a full HP Water Spout is really dangerous, especially in the rain. And Whimsicott has the eject button, making it leave the field. And at this moment, we can see Khalid has the advantage for having two speedy Pokemon despite the Tailwind. Calyrex comes in, which is normally a very speedy Pokemon, plus the Tailwind, which might make it move faster than Kyogre, but Rillaboom still has the priority advantage. So let's see what Chris has on his second slot. He's really taking his time here. Well, I don't blame him because currently Khalid has the advantage of having two massive powerhouse, one in special attack, and one in physical attack. And in comes Tapu Lele. Now this is interesting because Calyrex now has the advantage of the psychic terrain, and Tapu Lele as well really utilizes psychic terrain to its maximum. So depending on who gets to move first, in most cases it would be Chris's team since he has Tailwind up. But at the same time, we've seen that Khalid has Choice Scarf on his Kyogre, so well, looks like he did a smart play and changed over to Tsarina. Rillaboom as well switches out into Tornadus. So depending on how much damage this Calyrex can do, plus Tapu Lele, it might be very deadly for both Pokemon. And yes, Chris gets a double knockout, still giving him the advantage of speed. Tornadus cannot set up his Tailwind, so right now Chris is on the driver's seat. However, since Rillaboom is coming out again, this will change the psychic terrain into grassy terrain, which will give him the priority, but we do not know for sure if his Grassy Glide can deal with either of these Pokemon at full health. So now let's see how Khalid can react to this situation where Chris has an advantage. Looks like Khalid is taking his time. Oh, and Chris takes out the Tapu Lele for some reason.
I think he wants to change the terrain next play.
That would be a very smart play, but he already had the advantage. But I guess he just wants to preserve all his advantages, all his cards. Oh. And there goes Astro Barrage again, killing Rillaboom. And because of its ability, the Grimnay, Calyrex gets a special defense boost, leaving Kyogre alone in the field, using Scald against the already weakened Whimsicott. So now you have two Psychic users in Psychic terrain against the poor Kyogre, trying to handle this alone. And because he's locked into Scald as a Choice Scarf, he cannot change into Water Spout or any other moves. I guess Chris takes the first game. So this is what I mentioned in the beginning, that Chris has the surprise factor. Like, he always goes for some very tricky plays, and if he can maintain his surprise factor, he could beat Khalid's team, which is very meta-oriented and always using the top-tier Pokemons. And there we see Khalid do the forfeit, giving the first match to Chris. So congratulations to Chris. Any comments, Abdullah?
Actually, I think Chris played well, and the first round was a protect. That means Chris is taking his time, and he wants to know, do Khalid play as a regular player or do he have tricks? But Khalid played normally. He don't have something to surprise Chris, and I think it will go the same in round two.
Well, we'll have to see because, like I mentioned, Khalid has this unique talent of adapting to a situation. So we'll see if he can actually turn this around because I played my match. I was one of the participants earlier. I played my first match with Khalid. He won the first one. The second one, I managed to adapt to his playstyle and beat him. And on the third round, he actually beat me because he actually he already learned my entire team more or less.
نتذكر السادة المشاهدين ان الجيم الاول انتهى لصالح كريس، فاذا فاز كريس بينتقل للمباراه النهائيه الحين. ومثل ما قال اخوي عمر ان خالد من اللعيبه اللي يعرفون يتوقعون الفريق ويقرون. فالجيم 2 اخوي عمر يتوقع ان خالد بيلعب افضل كون انه هو من اللعيبه اللي يقدرون يحفظون تحركات الفريق الثاني. وبنشوف الحين الجيم 2 كيف بيبدا. التعليق عند اخوي عمر.
Thank you, Abdullah. So here we have Chris again with two different Pokemons this time with Calyrex and Blaziken. And Khalid as well changing up his starter duo with Weavile and Tornadus. Interesting enough, Weavile has Fake Out which might stop Blaziken's first ability and help Tornadus set up his Tailwind. On the other hand, Calyrex is still looking dangerous there. He can't be faked out because due to his ghost typing, and he could knock out one, if not both, of this Pokemon with Astral Barrage, depending on what item he has on Calyrex. So let's say Weavile decides to ignore Fake Out and attack Calyrex. Then he has the problem of dealing with Blaziken, which is a fighting and fire type, both which are the weakness of Weavile being an ice and dark type. So he might lose Weavile in the first turn. On the other hand, we have Tornadus, which could set up Tailwind and give him the advantage in the next turn. But we see Chris changing his Pokemon into Tapu Lele, putting in the Psychic Surge, which would protect Blaziken from Fake Outs, but would do nothing in terms of Tornadus. And as expected, Weavile went for the Fake Out, and Blaziken got protected with the Psychic Terrain. There goes Tailwind. Blaziken goes for a Flamethrower. Does Weavile have his Focus Sash? He doesn't, and it goes down on the first turn. While Khalid lost his first Pokemon, Tailwind is up, giving him the speed advantage. So let's say he goes in for a Kyogre, then, and that's exactly what he goes with.
طبعا خالد الحين جهز التيلويند، يعني كل بوكيموناته في السبيد بلس 2، ومعروف ان كيوغر عنده ضربه اللي هي ووتر سباوت، فتضرب بوكيمونين في نفس الوقت وبتكون في الماكسيمم. فلعبه حلوه من اخوي خالد.
And as you can see now, Tornadus goes for the Hurricane, which has full accuracy in the rain, and Water Spout hitting full damage on HP, not unless somehow Blaziken can outspeed Kyogre. But it's almost impossible since we've seen Kyogre having a Choice Scarf.
What do you think after one Protect? Can he do it or not?
After one Protect, which actually he did,
yeah.
Which is a smart play, there's a 50-50 chance because depending on how he trained the Blaziken, if it's a full speed, then there's a chance that he might be able to reach Kyogre's speed boost. And surprisingly, that Tapu Lele survived the Water Spout.
Yeah.
I thought he had the Focus Sash, but no.
It was surprising.
But then again, if it's a full speed, the Kyogre plus Choice Scarf plus Tailwind, then it's a really...
Wisdom Cost. Do you think it's Tailwind time?
Whimsicott, and depending on Blaziken how he plays it. Like, see, at his position, if I've trained Blaziken, I would give him like a Focus Sash, already with +2 speed, and then use Baton Pass to maybe Calyrex. Because then Blaziken would take the Water Spout, survive it. No, wait, he's already damaged, so he probably won't even survive anyways. Tailwind, Blaziken would have the speed advantage at this point. goes for an R sphere onto Kyogre. Okay, that will reduce the damage of Water Spout. Blaziken might not survive it, but it will still do the reduce it for Whimsicott. But then you have to worry about Tornadus. Tornadus has a Hurricane. Which is super effective against Whimsicott, which is a Grass type. So I know, but he has an eject button. I don't know if that would help him, but it would put in Calyrex in a very commanding position. The thing is now is if Calyrex is still or will survive a water spout under the rain. Calyrex may be a strong offensively, but is weak defensively. So, okay, he survives the hurricane, but he was confused.
Confused. This is huge. This is huge.
This is actually huge. Confuse has 50% of Pokemon hitting himself. So, if Calyrex managed to go for an Astral Barrage without hitting himself, there's a chance that he might have a double KO against Kyogre and Tornadus. At that point, Calyrex would be unstoppable. However, if he doesn't manage to initiate Astral Barrage, then it's a very bad situation to be in, honestly. Khaled decides to pull in his Kyogre to save it for one more turn at least, or maybe switch his attack. Rillaboom comes in, and we see him having the Assault Vest, so he might be able to survive the attack. Whimsicott goes in for a switcheroo with Tornadus. Okay.
Oh.
And that's why we were talking about confusion. Oh, and Tornadus has Icy Wind to further reduce his speed. At this point, it's clear that Khaled has the advantage. And like I said earlier, Khaled knows how to adapt. And you're seeing it firsthand, just how well he's reading his opponents and putting himself in the commanding position. At this point, Rillaboom has the advantage of priority, so Calyrex can't do anything much about it. And Whimsicott might be able to do some prankster stuff to disrupt the moves, but at this point, I think Khaled has this game in the bag. Okay, so he did not go for Grassy Glide, he just went for a Fake Out, which was barely enough to kill him. Calyrex, managed to go for a faster. Will it be able to kill Tornadus? No. Not even enough. Okay, the Icy Wind misses. So Calyrex is still faster. Whimsicott survives. Like there's still some options left for Chris to win the match, but as you can see that the Astral Barrage is not enough to even take Rillaboom to half HP. So Grassy Glide would be enough to finish off Calyrex, and Tornadus just has to do another Hurricane on Whimsicott, and the game is sealed.
I think Chris wants to know which items do Khaled have, because he did it twice.
Yes, he did switcheroo to learn on the items on the Pokemon, which is good information for Game 3. Normally, people either forfeit or they think that they have nothing else to learn, but Chris is making use of every knowledge of his opponent at this point.
This will be important in Game 3.
Yeah, it will be important, knowing that Rillaboom has Assault Vest, meaning he would be able to know how to deal with Rillaboom, but I don't know if he has the tools to actually do it. Blaziken might be a good answer, honestly, but if he loses it too early, then it will be tricky. Khaled is ready to go in directly. I'm guessing Chris as well. Here we go.
طبعا النتيجة الحين 1-1 من بين خالد ومن بين كريس. نشوف ان نفس ما قال اخوي عمر، خالد تمكن من قراية كريس ولعب بطريقة جدا جميلة. ضحى بالتيرن 1، لعب فيك اوت وهو متوقع انه يدخل تابوليلي، وسوى تيل ويند علشان ان كيوغر يدخل ويكون عنده السرعة، ونجح في انه هو يقضي على تابوليلي لانه كان اخطر المنافسين له، هو اللي يغير التيرين ونجح في انه هو يتخلص منه. الحين نشوف الجيم 3. هل بيدخل بوكيمون ما كان موجود قبل؟ هل بنشوف استراتيجية جديدة من أحد الطرفين؟ أتوقع أن كريس هو اللي محتاج يغير الحين، لأن
هو اللي انكشف. شو رايك اخوي عمر؟ شو تتوقع يعني؟
والله كلامك صحيح، ان قلنا ان خالد يعرف كيف يتصرف، رد فعله ما شاء الله عليه، ان يقرا الخصم ويعرف التكتيك ماله. ففي الجيم الثاني كريس ما عرف شو يسوي بالضبط، يعني حاول قدر الامكان انه يحط الادفانتج صوبه، بس ان خالد قدر يتمسك بالموضوع. So now we move on to game 3, which will be the determining game between Chris and Khalid. So the one winning this game will be moving on to the finals. So let's see. Chris goes for a different to the beginning team of Urshifu and Whimsicott, and Khalid goes for Kyogre and Tornadus. At this point, Chris has to stop Tailwind at any cost. So Taunt would be helpful, but we haven't seen Whimsicott using Taunt. Otherwise, maybe he could change the item with Kyogre, removing his Choice Scarf, which would reduce his speed dramatically, but we're not sure how would that help. Instead, Whimsicott goes for its first Tailwind, and we'll see if Tornadus goes again for his Tailwind as well. So now, in terms of speed, both teams are tied. It only depends on which Pokemon goes first. Urshifu survives, which I'm guessing it's by Focus Sash. So Urshifu can retaliate with a strong attack, probably Wicked Blow, against Kyogre, which is not very strong in physical defense, but we do not know if it's enough to get the one-hit KO. Calyrex comes in, and we all know how Calyrex is very dangerous. In terms of speed, nothing can outspeed it, assuming that you don't have a Choice Scarf, which... Okay, never mind. Urshifu goes for Tornadus instead. So now it really comes down to whether Calyrex is still fast enough to outspeed Kyogre with Choice Scarf. Khalid looks confident with his own speed, so he goes for another Water Spout. Tornadus is there to do damage if he managed to pull it off. Okay.
Oh, no Sucker Punch. No Sucker Punch.
That's surprising. I was expecting some kind of Sucker Punch at least to give an advantage. Oh.
So his choice it also.
Maybe.
Hey,
and there goes Tornadus. Kyogre will now go for Water Spout, but because of the damage he's taken, so it won't be a full 130 base damage. And we'll see if Calyrex can survive it under the rain. And it does. So Chris played that perfectly. He managed to maintain both his Pokemon while Khalid lost his Tornadus.
I think Khalid didn't realize that his Spectacles choices.
Yeah, because we haven't seen the item on Calyrex. We just assume that it's just naturally fast.
Yeah.
So now we have Rillaboom, which can threaten with a Fake Out on Urshifu, leaving it like it won't be able to move, and it would die basically on by Fake Out. Or Rillaboom can decide to attack Calyrex since it knows it's faster than Kyogre.
I think it is Tapu Lele time.
He might bring out Tapu Lele, and that would be on his advantage. And Abdullah was correct. Tapu Lele is in. So if Rillaboom does not go for Fake Out, if Rillaboom goes for Fake Out, then it won't stop anything. And even if he goes for Grassy Surge, it won't give him the priority because the terrain is no longer Grassy Surge. Astral Barrage goes in, and will it be enough to kill Kyogre?
Yo!
And that's a massive damage on
Oh!
So now Calyrex has a +2 special attack. So depending on how Rillaboom or who Rillaboom targets into Calyrex in a critical hit. Okay, that's good. That's good. Like, we don't know if the critical hit matters, but in most cases it didn't, because Calyrex isn't very bulky defensive-wise. So now Chris has the advantage of Psychic Terrain. And so far we've seen only Whimsicott and Tapu Lele on Chris's side. Sorry, Urshifu and Tapu Lele. Oh, so now we have both kinds of Urshifus, the Water type versus the Dark type. So
I'm seeing Khalid go to Aqua Jet, then he realized, oh no, I can.
yeah, that would be a funny thing. That if he goes for Aqua Jet, it would fail under Psychic Terrain. And now it depends on who would move first between the both Urshifus. Like if they're both trained for speed, then it would be a speed tie. It's a 50-50 chance of whom going first. And we see Khaled's Urshifu going first. And under the rain for triple damage, Tapu Lele was not going to survive that. There's no way. And now it's between Rillaboom and Urshifu, but Urshifu in most cases would be faster. Going for a close combat on Rillaboom. Okay. The good thing about close combat is that it's a very high damage, but you're sacrificing his defense and special defense. So now both Tailwinds are out, so both of the Urshifus are staring with each other. Logically, the water type Urshifu has the advantage because dark type is weak to water attack to fighting types. So the water type Urshifu can use it close combat on the dark type Urshifu and knock it out. He can't use water jet even though he'd like to. Psychic terrain is still helping him.
He's still thinking about
And Whimsicott needs only one of those moves, either a Moonblast or a Grass type moves, because the water Urshifu is weak to both. Oh, he goes.
Oh, he did it wrong, Khalid. Khalid, what you did, yeah, Khalid.
Khalid wasted this.
This
turn.
is what happened when you quit playing for too long. This is.
And Chris takes that round. Congratulations to Chris. He wins game 3 just because of Khalid's misreading of the move. But I'm guessing it's because he's it's 2 against 1.
The field was pink. How he did it? the field was pink, shining pink, shining.
مبروك لكريس، فاز بالمباراة ما شاء الله عليه. لأن ما أعرف لو خالد هو متعمد، لأن في الأخير هو بوكيمون 1 ضد 2، فلو هذا مات الثاني بيتغلب عليه.
لا أنا شفت الرياكشن. I saw the reaction. Yeah. He was like, oh, what I did, no.
So in the end, like you saw, Khalid really put up a really good match, and he fought tooth and nail to the end until like he did the last mistake of trying to do a priority move on Psychic Terrain, on both grounded moves in Psychic Terrain. So thank you all for attending. We're going to have a short break between for the next match. I don't know if we're going to have an interview with with Chris for winning his match, but stay tuned. So, welcome back everyone to Glitch Cafe Tournament. We have here Chris.
Hi, I'm Chris.
He's the winner for the previous match between Chris and Khalid. So tell me, Chris, how do you feel after the match? I know Khalid has this reputation of being this very top tier player, and his adaptation in game 2 was very scary. So how do you feel in general?
Literally, I could not stop my heart from pounding against my chest. It was so intense for me. I felt really nervous, but also was very calm at the same time because I was familiar with my team as well as a little bit about his team. It was very similar to the team that I think I saw in the Players' Cup. Forgive my ignorance.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead.
But yeah, so I think Tailwind was the best thing that his team could have done against mine. I had a feeling that it was going to be Scarf Ogre. Luckily, my Scarf Calyrex pulled through because nobody else got to see it in the tournament, unfortunately. So nobody knew about it. So.
That's actually the surprising part. We did not know what the item was on Calyrex. It could have been a choice specs, which most people would go for just to boost that attack power. But having this choice Scarf against Kyogre's Choice Scarf means Calyrex would go first. Plus the Tailwind, then there's no doubt that Calyrex would have the advantage of this.
Yeah, that's right.
So, just a quick question: like in terms of your team, like did you build this from scratch, or did you have an inspiration, or
Yeah.
what was the?
I built this from scratch before the series started. When the rule set was released, I had a feel around the potential legendaries that I want to build around. One thing that I was always scared of, and it haunts me, and it haunted me to this day, and I was well prepared for it, was Scarf Kyogre. So I built around Calyrex because Calyrex is really fast. I gave it Scarf and I started playing around a lot in Showdown, testing it, and I feel very confident. I made a lot of changes. Blaziken was an off-meta pick that I had, mainly to counter Incineroars and Rillaboom. Lele for terrain control. Whimsicott. I love Whimsicott. The eject button is what really helps me get the most out of the Tailwind, and not many Pokemon manage to uh, one-shot Whimsicott unless it's a super effective hit. So I get the free switch in most of the time, and sometimes that works against me. But I feel like this time, because Kyogre went first instead of Tornadus, because if it were the other way around, if Tornadus Icy Wind, Whimsicott would have been ejected out. I would have had to bring Calyrex, and so fortunately it worked out in my favor. If it were that case, it would have been a totally different story.
Yeah, that was actually
Yeah.
a very smart play, to be honest. Like, sorry, I
Thanks.
interrupted you, but like that was the thing that I caught my attention. Whimsicott with eject button. Normally, Whimsicott is a very frail Pokemon. You would see it with Focus Sash or something that's to improve its survivability. But he had the eject button, and I'm assuming because you knew Kyogre would try to like is like the main threat to the team. So being a grass type, it would be able to survive
Yeah.
that kind of attack. So
The Tapu Lele surviving on 1 HP really survived, surprisingly.
yeah, that one was a very interesting match of having survived a full attack of water spout
Yeah.
under the rain.
Under the rain. Single targets.
Mhm.
Single targets.
So yeah, congratulations for your for winning these matches.
Thank you.
And so we'll see you in the finals, inshallah. And good job on this match. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Cool.
والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وأنا أعود إليكم من جديد. المباراة النهائية تجمع بين كريس وعنا خليفة المرر، هو اللي تأهل في المباراة الثانية اللي ما كانت معروضة على الستريمينج، فاز 2-1 على معرف، وحين يلعب على الفاينل ضد كريس. طبعا الاثنين يعني خطيرين. خليفة لاعب دفاعي، يحب يدافع، ما يحب يهجم، يعني عادي عنده يفوز بالتايم، يضيع الوقت. يعني كريس مثل ما شفناه لاعب 50-50، يعني لا انه هجومي وايد ولا انه دفاعي في الميدل. فانا اتوقع يعني هو المناسب حق خليفة، مش اتاكر يعني وايد. فشو تتوقع شو بيسوي خليفة؟
والله خليفة لازم يا انه يكسر طبيعته، او لو بيستغل طبعه انه يكون لاعب دفاعي، على الاقل انه يمتص الدمج. كريس بوك لازم يسوي دامج، لازم يهاجم شويه.
صحيح،
لان حتى كريس عنده الامكانيه انه يبدل بوكيمونات، ف هاللاعبين يعتمد كليا عن كيف يتصرفون في
نشوف مخرجنا هني يقول ان المباراه بتبدا الحين. نشوف هل تم اختيار البوكيمونات ولا لا. خلينا نشوف.
So now we have both players, Khalifa and Chris, on the screen, and they'll be choosing their Pokemons now. So let's see what we have. So we've seen Chris's team before, but now we actually see from his point of view. And Khalifa has Rillaboom, Celesteela, I forgot the name of the fire type Pokemon. We have Eternatus, we have Rotom Wash. Okay, so okay, let's just see how both players go in, because honestly I'm lost for words because I do not know how to react in Chris's position. Like Khalifa has very interesting Pokemons, like the thing of Rotom Wash. I don't know if it's going to be helpful against Chris's team. Eternatus we don't see much. I run Eternatus on my team, but against this kind of matchup, Eternatus would be in very tricky situation because of the psychic types that Chris runs.
No, but I think on the other side Chris have Spectacle, and he have also the Dark Urshifu, so it is very bad for Eternatus. I don't think if I am Khalifa I'm gonna put him in the match.
Well, Eternatus is not a good matchup in this situation. I don't know if he's going to keep them, but we know that Khalifa likes his Rillaboom, so we expect to see him in this game. And we have both teams ready, so now we're taking a look into the finals match between Khalifa and Chris. Let's have a look. So first we have Khalifa on the screen, sending out Spiritomb and Celesteela, both very defensive Pokemon, sticking true to Khalifa's playstyle. And on Chris's side, we have Urshifu and Whimsicott. At this point, I do not think anyone has the advantage because Celesteela is good against Whimsicott, and Urshifu can do a good amount of damage against Spiritomb. So we see Whimsicott going in for a Tailwind, taking the speed advantage directly in the beginning. And Urshifu is protecting, wanting to see just what Khalifa will be doing this turn. And depending on what Celesteela's moves are, he could be super effective against Urshifu as well. Celesteela goes for a Heavy Slam, which deals a massive amount of damage on Whimsicott.
Oh,
with a critical hit as well. And there goes Whimsicott, not getting the chance to use his eject button. Celesteela gets a beast boost with boost back, which boosted his defense. So like I said, Khalifa is a very defensive player, so of course he would have a stronger defense, Celesteela. And I think we saw Spiritomb use Will-O-Wisp to try and reduce the damage from Urshifu. And in comes Blaziken, the fire type, which can do a massive amount of damage on Celesteela. But since Celesteela has a defense boost and Blaziken is typically a physical attacker, it might not do that much damage, but if I'm not mistaken, Blaziken had Flamethrower. Tapu Lele comes out, anticipating what move, because if Celesteela goes for another heavy slam, this would be bad. Oh wow! Wow!
Crit? Oh, and it's not even crit.
Not even a crit. One hit KO on a Celesteela, which is usually very bulky. Spiritomb goes for Will-O-Wisp again, and on Tapu Lele, which burns it, but the late doesn't affect his damage output at all. And we should know that Tapu Lele is also a Fairy type. Fairy type is strong against Dark type, which is half of Spiritomb's typing. Spiritomb is a Ghost Dark type, so it will take a very good amount of damage from Fairy attacks. Rillaboom comes in, and he has the option of Fake Out or Grassy Glide against Tapu Lele. I'm sure he won't try anything against Blaziken, not unless he has a Ground type move to kill it. Chris changes again, switches out again. So like I said, these two players, they like to preserve their Pokemon, try to keep them as alive as much as possible. And so far, Khalifa has not done much except kill Whimsicott. And Blaziken is protecting, I'm guessing to anticipating a Fake Out, but it goes on to Urshifu instead. But the good thing about Chris's play is now Blaziken will get another speed boost, which will make it, which will boost the speed up to +2, and he still has a Tailwind up. So there's no way you can catch up to the Blaziken, and Urshifu is already benefiting from Tailwind. So at this point, Khalifa is a bad situation in terms of speed, and in terms of typing as well. We see Chris using Flamethrower on Spiritomb instead. That's an interesting choice.
Can he KO? Can he KO? Ah, no, I thought it's gonna go to Rillaboom.
Yeah, that's what I was surprised about. He went Flamethrower for Spiritomb instead of Rillaboom. I'm guessing he's anticipating Khalifa to switch out his Rillaboom, but Rillaboom stays in for some reason. And there's a wicked blow from Spiritomb, from Urshifu into Spiritomb, and that's not enough to kill it. Interesting enough. Rillaboom uses knockoff on Blaziken just to reveal that life orb. Spiritomb still goes for a Snarl, which is really not effective on either on this Pokemon. Maybe on Blaziken, because now we realize that he's a special type of Blaziken.
Yeah, special attacker.
So Abdullah, what do you think is going to happen so far? So far, there's 3 versus 3, and not one of them is really doing much damage aside from Urshifu.
I think Blaziken has invested a lot of his speed in this game, so I don't think he will gonna change it. And Urshifu will gonna knock out Spirit Bomb, so it will be gonna be 3 against 2 very soon.
Oh. And Blaziken goes out.
So the invest goes also.
And then comes Tapu Lele. Of course, this means that the terrain changes to Psychic Terrain. I don't know if it's a smart move to switch in Tapu Lele, because Spiritomb would, if it survives Wicked Blow, reduce a special attack. But there goes the Wicked Blow, and the damage is enough to kill Spiritomb. So now Rillaboom is in the top spot, depending on what it chooses to do. U-turn, which is a smart move.
Yeah.
Makes it leave the field, switching out. Now Khalifa can bring in another Pokemon and bring Rillaboom again, which will change his terrain back to grassy. And now we see Eternatus. And I thought that would be a bad matchup to bring Eternatus, but Khalifa has the courage to bring the Dragon Poison type legendary.
So now Chris have a choice. Do he take back Urshifu or Tapu Lele?
Yes.
Which one he will choose?
If I was Chris, I would take back Tapu Lele, but that of course will make Blaziken get either take a lot of damage from Eternatus, And of course, Urshifu is still ahead in terms of speed, so he can do damage with Urshifu. He doesn't need to switch it out because his attack is not affected, and his critical hits are always guaranteed, so it's still good for him. Blitzkrieg comes out, and Rillaboom might use Fake Out to protect to hit Urshifu, but Urshifu smartly protects. And Eternatus goes for Dynamax on the protected Urshifu. Smart play by Chris. And a knockoff on Blaziken, which is not effective because Blaziken is a fighting type as well, which makes Dark type very weak against it. And now I think Chris is still on the driver's seat. He has both the typing advantage of Blaziken against Rillaboom, and Urshifu is still going to do a lot of damage on either of these Pokemon. He can either focus on Rillaboom and leave Eternatus alone, or spread the damage and try to take off both Pokemon at the same time.
I think he needs to bring Tapu Lele, because the Grass Glide will be dangerous on Urshifu.
And like I said, Khalifa goes for Grassy Glide, but it's not enough to kill. Oh, and Eternatus is still faster. And there goes Urshifu with his Wicked Blow. Chris managed to protect in the right time, so Blaziken survives for another turn. Gets a speed boost, which will make it faster than most Pokemons in the current field. And depending on how Eternatus is trained, or if it's using the Choice Scarf item, then Blaziken might be able to go first this turn.
The question is, can Blaziken KO Eternatus? I don't think so.
It might not be able to KO Eternatus, but if he tries to go for Rillaboom, then there's a chance he might leave this match with...
No, Eternatus is faster. He cannot take. So that's what happened, yeah.
Yeah, so
because he knows he's faster.
Mm-hmm. But I thought maybe his speed investment would give it some kind of advantage. But okay, he switches out Blaziken and chases it to Tapu Lele to take in the Dynamax Cannon, which is not effective on fairy types. So now
this is a good play from Chris.
Very good, very smart play from Chris. He managed to read into the Eternatus Dynamax Cannon. So now Tapu Lele is free to use Psychic, and Urshifu can go for another Wicked Blow if it managed to survive a Dynamax Cannon. And now we finally see Eternatus using his Dynamax Cannon. I love the animation, honestly. And it's enough for a KO. But now he has to survive a Psychic type under Psychic terrain.
And he can't.
And it's done. Congratulations to Chris for winning the first match. And hopefully Khalifa can learn from this match and adapt.
The first lesson, don't bring Eternatus.
Well, that is a good lesson, but as a poison type user, I would have to disagree with you. Like, he has the chance to actually turn it around, but I think the mistake was to use the Dynamax Cannon. Like, Sludge Bomb is also a good option. Flamethrower. Eternatus can also learn Shadow Ball if that helps to deal with
Fairy type,
Psychic or Ghost type. So we see both players ready again. Chris has the advantage at this point. If he wins this round, then he is crowned the champion. Khalifa has a chance to get into a comeback if he learns from his past game and manage to flip this point advantage against Chris. So we see Chris changing up his starter Pokemons into Calyrex and Whimsicott, Tapu Lele and Blaziken. So he still maintains his Tapu Lele terrain advantage, and we have no idea what Khalifa will bring in at this match. So let's have a look on the almost the final determining match. So reminder again, both Chris and Khalifa won their own matches against their opponents in the last round. This is the final match, so whoever wins this is the champion of the Cafe tournament. And we see Khalifa starting off with the same Pokemon, Spiritomb and Celesteela. Meanwhile, Chris changes to Calyrex and Whimsicott. So let's see how this plays out, because Chris will be going full offensive at this point, using going for Astral Barrage against both Pokemon. It do neutral damage to both Pokemon, but depending on how they are both trained, they could either survive the hit or get knocked out. Because we saw last game that Celesteela died out of, from Flamethrower from Blaziken. So Celesteela might not be special defense, especially bulky. And probably to confirm our theory, Celesteela goes out, Rillaboom comes in, and Whimsicott goes for a switcheroo. Switching its item with Rillaboom and getting the Assault Vest. While that would... Oh, Sucker Punch. Just one Sucker Punch is enough to kill Calyrex. That was the best move probably from Khalifa. The biggest threat in Chris's team is down. Whimsicott stuck with an Assault Vest, meaning it can't use any special attack, special status moves. If it has any special attack moves, it could still use it, but at this point, it's very limited in its uses. So Blaziken has to pick up or carry the game for the rest of the team, and Tapu Lele at this point.
So Whimsicott just killed himself.
In a way, yes. If it's a full status move Whimsicott, then it's very useless at this point. Tapu Lele comes in instead of Whimsicott, switching the terrain to Psychic Surge or Psychic Terrain. So any fake outs would not work, Sucker Punches would not work, and Rillaboom goes out for Eternatus. So if I'm not mistaken, Blaziken used Flamethrower, then it's not effective on a Dragon type. And yes, as predicted, Harifa switched out properly. The Flamethrower did not do any that much damage on Eternatus. And Spiritomb goes for Snarl, expecting the switch. So now both Pokemons have their special attack dropped. That means both their attacks are going to be reduced. And since both Lele and Blaziken are special attackers, this will really affect their damage output. Yeah, I mean, so far Khalifa's been switching out the right Pokemon at the right time.
Yeah. This time the Psyshock will gonna KO Eternatus or not?
It really depends. If since we know that Scarf is on Calyrex, Tapu Lele might have choice specs, and it could be strong enough. But at this point, we have to see if Eternatus still goes first, because just based on last game, we're guessing that Eternatus is shortstop, and he goes for Sludge Bomb this time instead of making the same mistake. Lele is down. Spiritomb goes for another Snarl, hoping to reduce Blaziken's attack again. Khalifa has the advantage at this point, 4 versus 2.
Yeah.
Against a useless Whimsicott and the Blaziken that can't do much against Eternatus. It's a very...
It is a 4-0 a 4-0 game.
A 4-0 game. That's like a complete turnaround on the first match. So well done, Khalifa. He managed to flip the situation to his advantage. And going back to what we mentioned earlier about Khalifa, he's a very defensive player. So you can see how he minimized his attack, but only at the same point he managed to switch out the right Pokemons at the right time to make sure that his opponents use up all his attack options and preserve his Pokemon so that they can be used in the end game. So this is the situation we have right here. Chris is down to his last Pokemon because there's no way Whimsicott's surviving a Sludge Bomb, which is 4 times weak to. And Spiritomb keeps going for Snarl, which will keep reducing Blaziken's special attack. So there's almost no way for Chris to win this match. It's actually a pretty good switch for Khalifa, honestly.
Do you think it was in his mind to do it?
I know Khalifa usually likes to rotate his Pokemon, but I don't know that if he expected all of Chris's Pokemons. Because he changed his starting setup, so he put Calyrex in the beginning. And I'm sure like Khalifa would probably be not expecting that one, or if he did, maybe Spiritomb was the answer for that kind of starting. But as we can see, that Khalifa really managed to preserve all 4 Pokemons, being a very defensive player, and Chris has to and lost all his surprises more or less in this game.
So now to game 3.
Game 3, which will be the determining game, and this is for the championship. So we've seen both playstyles of Khalifa and Chris. They both showed off their talents in their own gameplay. Chris being able to surprise their opponent, and Khalifa being a very defensive player of how to preserve all your Pokemons till the end. So we see Chris going up for the same start. I'm guessing he has a new plan in his mind despite using the same Pokemon. And we'll see if Khalifa will start with the same as last game or adapt to a new change probably. Because you have to be, if you're Khalifa, you would have to expect that Chris would have to change his starting lineup, seeing as he lost badly from the second game. And now we're starting the match, and we'll see what Khalifa goes out. He goes out with Rotom and Rillaboom, a completely new setup. And Chris surprises him with the familiar setup of last game, of Whimsicott and Calyrex. From here, it's hard to determine who has the advantage, but we know that Whimsicott probably does not have a grass move. Calyrex, however, can do a good amount of damage against both Rillaboom and Rotom, despite Rillaboom having Assault Vest. So we'll see how this plays out. Calyrex comes back, switching in to Tapu Lele, changing the terrain to Psychic Surge, or Psychic Terrain, which will stop Rillaboom from any fake outs if he goes for a fake out against Whimsicott. Oh, Rotom goes for an ally switch.
He thought he was gonna switch the item again, so that's why.
I assume that's probably the plan. He's expecting a switcheroo, so he thought that he would give him the Assault Vest again, but that didn't work out in his favor. Rillaboom goes for knockoff, and yes, we see that Tapu Lele has a choice specs, which would have boosted his attack power, but now it's reduced, but still very strong in Psychic Terrain. Like, you don't need the choice specs to really do the damage here.
So round 1 goes good for Chris.
It is good for Chris, but he hasn't done any damage yet. Meanwhile, Khalifa did manage to damage Tapu Lele.
At least he saved his Spectacle from knockoff.
Yes. So now it depends to see how they decide to take advantage of the situation right now. Whimsicott goes for a Moonblast onto Rillaboom, and my assumption is that Tapu Lele will also go for an attack on Rillaboom to try and kill it. And we'll see if the Assault Vest is enough to make it survive, and it did.
That gorilla will not go down easily.
The gorilla will not go down easily. Oh, somehow Tapu Lele survives that. But it dies to a U-turn from Rillaboom. And now Chris lost his terrain advantage. Khalifa's in control with his grassy terrain. Rillaboom can come in anytime to use his grassy glide. And in comes the Eternatus, the scary dragon.
I think it is wrong, because the Spectacle is gonna come now.
Yes, if Calyrex comes in, there's a chance that they would have the advantage, because there's no way for Khalifa to control the speed. And Tailwind is still up, just so you know. Tailwind makes everything fast on the field. And depending on how they play, I would assume Whimsicott would try to use Moonblast on Eternatus just to make sure that it dies. But we see that Calyrex does not have any Psychic move to take advantage of the Psychic Terrain. So he has a choice between Mud Shot, which is super effective against Eternatus, but it might not be enough to kill him. I do not know how much damage that would do. And Rotom goes for an Ally Switch to throw off the attack. Mud Shot goes to Rotom, which misses because of its Levitate ability. Whimsicott goes for a Moonblast onto the Rotom because of the Ally Switch, and it does the damage. Eternatus goes for a Dynamax Cannon onto potentially Calyrex, and we'll see if it's enough to KO. Oh, 10% damage, 10 HP left. Now Chris has to keep in mind that Alice Switch will come in any time, and it might throw off his attacks again. So, but it looks like it's still insisting on going for the ground time move. And it looks like he's trying very hard to protect what his opponent is going to do. Personally speaking, I would have gone for Astral Barrage because it's a spread move and it hits both targets regardless. And
one of them will be super effective.
It won't be super effective. It's a ghost type, so it won't affect the Eternatus that much. But unless somebody switches out, and yes, I Khalifa of course would switch out to preserve his Eternatus. Grassy Glide, Grassy Surge activates, turning the terrain into a grass type, grassy terrain. Calyrex goes for Mud Shot onto Rillaboom, which is not effective against grass types. So there's a high chance that Rotom would target the Calyrex and take it off the field. But Whimsicott managed to kill Rillaboom. It's still preserving his Eternatus, but that's one threat away from his opponent. So at this point, I think we have a match of 3 versus 2. Because we have Eternatus, Rotom, and we do not know what the third Pokemon of Khalifa yet. Meanwhile, this is down to his last 2 Pokemon. Whimsicott is good, but I don't think it has the damage output to fight against Eternatus, because Tapu Lele would have been the ideal choice against him. Yes, so Blaziken is really struggling against Eternatus because neither of its attack moves fire or fighting type would be effective on Eternatus. So, and somebody took the choice specs.
And I think it's the time. Just separate us from giving Khalifa the trophy.
I guess Khalifa managed to really, and that's what I'm saying about Khalifa. Like, he knows how to preserve his Pokemon. He will keep his Pokemon alive long enough to make sure the situation is in his favor, and then goes on the attack. Chris tried, and I give him credit for trying really hard to try and outsmart Khalifa, but in the end, Khalifa really knew how to keep his advantage for him and win this match. So congratulations to Khalifa, our new Glitch Cafe champion, and very good and very well played for Chris. He really tried his best, but Ali Khalifa in the end his defensive styles got him on top. فنحيي خليفة حق فوزه في هالتورنمنت صراحة. شفت لعبه ان يعني دفاعي ويعرف متى يغير بوكيموناته وكيف يتصرف في هالموضوع.
مبارك حق خليفه الفوز في البطوله، 16 مشترك و4 تاهلوا للمرحله النهائيه، وفي النهايه بطل واحد اللي هو كان اخونا خليفه خسر في المباراه الاولى، ولكن تدارك يعني الخطا وعرف كيف يلعب. مثل ما كنا نعرف خليفه لاعب دفاعي تم يدافع لين ما فقد كريس صبره وقام يهاجم يعني باختيارات خطا، وفي النهايه خليفه فاز. مبارك له وشكرا يعني للجميع، وان شاء الله بنطلع فاصل بعدها مقابله مع صاحب المركز الثاني وصاحب المركز الاول. انتظرونا.
Welcome back, everyone. We have Chris, our second place winner in the Glitch Cafe tournament.
Hi, I'm Chris.
Hi, Chris. We had high hopes after seeing your match with Khalid and now with Khalifa. So, first of all, I know you're just one win away from being the champion. So, my first question is, how do you really feel about this one? Like, I know it's bad, but I mean, come on.
It's not a great thing that I lost, but I don't feel too bad. Second place is still pretty good. It's not first place. I felt good with my performance in my first battle, and then I got a little bit greedy in my next two, so I don't feel too good about that.
Yeah, we did notice that you were playing a little bit impatient because usually you would
Yeah.
try to take the situation in your hand and then go for the kill. But this time, like I think Khalifa got into your head, so you decided to try to kill his Pokemon before he had the chance to rotate around.
First impressions was wide guards, so that kind of deterred me from bringing Calyrex and the Spiritomb. But then once I found out that okay, I actually didn't really need to use. I could have replaced Urshifu with Calyrex in the second and third match, so that's why I didn't bring him. If I could get Blaziken to deal with the Rillaboom. Unfortunately, all of the mons in my second match were special attackers, so that's not really hurt. And the switch outs were very well played. I was completely blinded by my greed. I could not really think, and you could tell I was panicking. I was frustrated. I was tilting the remote left and right because I wanted to communicate how I felt. Because I knew my side was being.
Yeah, because I'm sure that the first, like Rillaboom turned out to be very a handful. Like it's usually not a very threatening Pokemon, but the things that it does really changes your playstyle. And then in the last game, you were surprised by Rotom Wash's Ally Switch.
I was expecting Ally Switch from Spiritomb, but yeah, that kind of hurt. I could have gotten away with an Astral Barrage instead of Mud Shot, seeing how I lived the Specs Dynamax Cannon. Ouch. Yeah, so I could have just doubled Astral Barrage instead. But yeah, as you can see, I kind of went for the super effective move, knowing that it could one shot, but I also run the risk of missing because of Ally Switch.
Yes.
I took the risk, and this is the outcome.
Well, congratulations anyway. You're second place, like out of 16, you're still the second highest player. And I'm sure that even during the Swiss rounds, you were having an iffy game, but you managed to reach to the top. So congratulations, Chris.
Thanks.
We'd love to have you again for the next tournament, inshallah. And we'll take a short break, then we'll bring in the top first place winner.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Glitch Cafe tournament. We have our first place winner, Khalifa Al Marar. Please show us the trophy one more time, please. Just lift it up. Yes, thank you, thank you. Congratulations on winning the tournament. How does it
welcome.
feel?
It's really nice to be the champion. Actually, Alhamdulillah, this is my second time in a row. And the last tourney we had in Ajman, I got the first place. And Alhamdulillah, this time I also got the first place.
Okay, so tell us, like, I've already, as a commentator, I've been commenting about your playstyle, and that's very defensive, very switching around left and right. And apparently it works because you managed to be the champion and beat Chris about it. So tell me, like, what's the main focus of your game style? Like when you play and you see an opponent, like what goes through your head?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is I like to run tanky teams, as you have seen. Tanky teams gives you the possibility of living. For example, I'm going to give you one example. There was one match with Incineroar and I had Celesteela and Rillaboom. So Rillaboom was in... I sent out Rillaboom first and I knew that the Flare Blitz was going to come. So what I did, my Celesteela is actually a 252 max defense Celesteela. And I already know that it can live any Flare Blitz any time of the day. So what I did was, I switched into Celesteela. I made Incineroar lose recoil while my Celesteela reached the yellow HP. And then I finished him off with not Eternal Beam, Dynamax Cannon, which was Eternatus using it.
Very good. And we've seen that also as well in your match with Chris. Like you managed to read perfectly like which Pokemon is strong against which Pokemon, or like which type of attack basically. And I was surprised to see that Celesteela was like it died one shot from Flamethrower. And now that you explained that it's focused mostly on defense, it makes sense now. And that's why it makes sense when you switched out.
It was full on defense. If I recall, it was a relaxed nature, if I remember correctly. 252 defense and 252 HP, and 4 in special defense.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay, so in the first match, Chris really like cleaned up on your team. He managed to win with a good advantage. And in game 2, you managed to flip that around where he had no options, and he was down to like 4 versus Whimsicott, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
So from what you have seen, the mistake I did. First of all, he surprised me with the Flamethrower. I actually thought that the Blaziken was physical and then turned out to be special. I think I didn't get Rotom into this matchup because I thought he was purely physical.
Yes.
And my Rotom is actually 252 special defense.
Okay.
So Celesteela is the defensive, physically defensive, and Rotom is the specially defensive. Spiritomb is also physically defensive, and this is all because of the amount of Zacians in this meta.
Yeah, and it managed to survive Urshifu with this critical attack. I think it had like 3 shots before it managed to kill Spiritomb.
I think Spiritomb has a really decent defense and special defense. But I chose him to be tanky from like in the physical side. I also ran Will-O-Wisp to cripple any physical attacker.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt you, but just one last question before we end the stream. So far, like if I've seen your score, you've won every single match from the Swiss rounds to the finals, basically. So, do you have like any insights or any words of wisdom that you can give for our new players? Because this is a new tournament and we have few new players who came into the Glitch Cafe tournament, and I'm sure they want to learn from you. They want to learn what you can. So give us some kind of advice for these new players.
The best advice I could give is that you never give up. That's the first thing. Second thing, when I started VGC, I started using the Pokemon I used during my story. When you play the game, when you play the
First
story.
time, yes.
Yeah, I was actually using them, and I didn't know what VGC was. I didn't know different, like each meta has different Pokemon. So if I remember correctly, when we started, it was Dynamax was allowed. Now it's not allowed.
Yes.
I had to change everything in my team, except for Rillaboom. He was always there because grass is my favorite type.
Yes, we can see that.
Yeah, grass starters to be specific.
And the advice is?
Yeah, so just keep practicing. Don't back down. Even if you lost, last tournament was online. I lost the first 2 matches I had, but Alhamdulillah, I kept on winning the every match after that, and I got first place in this online tournament too.
Well, you hear it from our champion. Thank you, Khalifa, and congratulations again for winning the tournament. And this is all we have for this evening. We'll thank you for viewing and have a good night.